Alright, so in one of my previous videos, I showed you a custom Game Boy Advance. It was a green and yellow one with Zelda style. It was really cool. Unfortunately, that had a right trigger problem, so I sent it back to the modder, and it got lost by US mail on the way there. He gave me a full refund. Very awesome, good business person. I'm thankful that he was so easy to work with. So while I figure out what I'm going to do about my Game Boy Advance, or really my original Game Boy and Game Boy Color game needs, I decided to go ahead and purchase this Game Boy Macro. This was $175 from a modder out of Portland. I found him on Etsy, and the name of his business is NorthBestElectronics. Again, $175. I really like this. He did a great job on this Game Boy Macro. So if you don't know, let's start with what a Game Boy Macro is, and then I'll kind of show you what it feels like, and well, what I think it feels like, and show you how it works. So first of all, what they do, they take an original DS Lite. Okay, check out the back. And what they do is they remove the top screen and then do a bunch of like fancy, complicated electrical stuff so that they can then put a nice aluminum faceplate over it, and they mute the X and Y buttons, and you have just a more modern update, a different way to play Game Boy Advance games. What I like about this is that these modders, the people that are doing these things, that came up with these ideas, what they're doing is they're preserving DS Lites. So, of course, you could take a fully functioning DS Lite like this one and, rip off the top screen and make your Game Boy Macro and throw out a perfectly good DS gaming system. This one does have a weak hinge, but that's nothing that can't be addressed, through other means. But what I hope is happening, and I've read about this on Reddit and stuff, is that these modders are taking broken DS systems where maybe the DS cartridge isn't working or that top screen is completely shattered and jacked up, and instead they're finding a new way to use those components. So they're, in a sense, recycling and reusing them, which is really cool. So what a Game Boy Macro can do is play Game Boy Advance games only. Of course, your DS, you still have a DS card slot, but it's not going to play DS games appropriately because you can only see one of the two screens. The touch screen is disabled on this. I don't know exactly why or how, but it doesn't matter because you can't play DS games on it. So what you have is a really comfortable, fancy, modern-looking Game Boy Advanced player. It won't play Game Boy or Game Boy Color games, hence my earlier comment. I need to find a new home for those games that I have plenty of them. And you retain a lot of the functionality that you're used to if you're a fan of Game Boy Advance. It's really cool. You've got your headphone jack and your volume slider. It's all the same, no changes. Your Game Boy Advance slot. On the right side, there's still the housing for the pen, but you're not going to need it. Power slider. You still have your L and R buttons. A lot of these modders, they'll change the button colors too if you want a certain combination. Like at first I thought gold with black might be cool, but he had this available, so I went for it because I'm, impatient. DS card reader, and then your power charger. Nothing on the left side, and on the back you have just, the back of a DS Lite. You can change out the battery if you want a more refreshed one that'll hold the battery longer. I do expect really good battery life out of this since that top screen's not going to be used. Now, as far as how it plays, it's great. Like you boot right up into the DS Lite home screen where you can go into the settings and mess with that. You can also adjust the brightness, right? So dim, moderate, better than moderate, and max. So 4 stages of brightness. Then you can just launch your GBA game, in this case, Minish Cap, because I still want to play it, or beat it, I should say, for the second time. I gotta get that cred out there that I have beaten Minish Cap before. So it is a bit distorted at high volume. I think it's the original speaker. When I looked at the description, it didn't say anything about a customized speaker or a new speaker. But there's always a headphone jack. Now what I tend to do is go all the way on mute with these older games that don't have spoken dialogue, for example, or anything meaningful. Music is awesome, don't get me wrong. But what I like to do is listen to podcasts or audiobooks, make my mind sharper while I play video games. It's one way of justifying the time. Now, there are black borders around the actual in-game representation. It is just the way it is with these. Those of you watching, if you happen to know of a modification to this to make the display larger and usable, it still has a strong PPI, that'd be awesome. Just please let me know. Okay, so I mentioned the X and Y buttons are deleted because those weren't on the original Game Boy. All the other buttons in this case are original. You can replace them. Everything feels good in terms of this particular unit, the one that this guy made. The status light is green up here, so you can still see sort of how things are going with battery life. And this aluminum faceplate, it is a bit utilitarian, but I love it. I mean, it's just, it has a really nice premium feel to it. You know, we want our MacBooks and our Windows laptops, some of us do, to have, you know, aluminum. Aluminum is a premium material. So to get this thing at least partially in aluminum, but the back is still that comfy, sort of smooth DS Lite nature, I think is really awesome. So, okay, that was a lot of stuff. So basically, if you're looking for a way to recycle your DS Lite, or you just want to buy one like I did, and be able to play Game Boy Advance games on a really nice unit, this is a good way to go. And I feel like $175 was a good price. I don't feel like I overpaid at all, which is makes me a happy camper. So thanks to Sean for being a really good vendor, and you know, a lot of communication before I pulled the trigger. He was cool, and you should check him out. NorthBestElectronics on Etsy. And again, I paid $175 for this. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.